You know, in just about any organization, you see two kinds of people. You see the ones who believe their good work will speak for itself, and then you see the ones who actually get promoted. And let me tell you, that is not a coincidence. It's a signal. The biggest mistake that kills careers isn't one bad decision. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of how power really works. And in this explainer, we're going to decode that system. See, we're all taught to believe in this nice, clean formula for success. Your talent, plus your hard work, plus your good intentions, that should get you where you want to go. But the reality? Well, it works a little differently. The real equation is your performance multiplied by your political skill. And that multiplication sign is everything. It's not addition, it's a multiplier. And here's the critical part. If your political skill is 0, it doesn't matter how amazing your performance is. Anything times 0 is 0. Your career just stops. So here's how we're going to map all of this out. First, we're going to tear down the meritocracy myth. Then, we'll decode the 3 hidden signals that really determine who has influence. We'll look at how this game is played at work, figure out the true cost of not seeing it, and then flip that to see the strategic edge you can gain. And we'll wrap up with a question for your next move. All right, let's start with the foundational signal here, the meritocracy myth. This is that really comforting idea that organizations are fair, that the best ideas just naturally win. And look, it's a noble ideal, for sure, but operating as if it's already true, that is the single most dangerous assumption you can make in your career. It's like trying to navigate a city with a map that's missing 90% of the actual streets. You're just going to get lost. So to navigate properly, you have to see what's going on beneath the surface, beyond that formal org chart. I mean, you look at thinkers like Stanford's Jeffrey Pfeffer, and he's shown that performance only explains a tiny fraction of who gets ahead. You look at strategists from Robert Greene all the way back to Machiavelli, and they've documented these timeless patterns of influence. And when you put all their work together, you don't just get a list of tricks. You find a consistent physics of power, and it's all governed by a few critical signals. And those forces, they really boil down to 3 key things. First, there's political blindness. Second, moral naivety. And third, strategic silence. And let me be clear, failing to see these signals doesn't just slow you down, it actually makes you a target. So what is political blindness? It's pretty simple. It's the failure to see an organization for what it truly is, a political system. See, power doesn't just follow the neat lines on an org chart. It follows these messy, informal networks of influence. And ignoring that? It's like playing a game of chess but only looking at your own pieces. You become predictable, you're easy to outmaneuver, and ultimately, you become expendable. The second signal is moral naivety. And this is the belief that just doing good work is its own shield. It's this assumption that everyone else is playing by the exact same rules of fairness that you are. And this creates a massive blind spot. Because while you're focused on perfecting the work, someone else is focused on managing the perception of the work, building alliances, and shaping the story around it. The thing is, they are playing a completely different game. And that leads right into our third signal, strategic silence. This is the assumption that your value is just obvious. But in any organization, attention is a scarce resource. Your work does not speak for itself. It has to be spoken for. If you aren't telling the story of your own value, someone else will. Or worse, no one will. And the data is really clear on this. Visibility isn't about ego. It's a key predictor of who gets influence. Okay, so that's the pattern. But what does the game actually look like? How do these signals show up when the stakes are high? This chart really lays out the consequences. Just look at the row for crisis management. When something goes wrong, the person who's ignoring the signals, the one who believes their good work is enough to protect them, they almost always become the scapegoat. Why? Because their focus was just on the technical problem, not the political one. But the person who's reading the signals, they understood the game. They already had alliances built. They controlled the narrative. They weren't just solving the crisis, they were managing the story to make sure they were seen as the problem solver, not the source of the problem. And that's the thing. The consequences of ignoring these signals, they aren't random. They are incredibly predictable, which brings us to the real cost of this blindness. Because operating with political blindness and moral naivety, it carries a very real and often career-defining price. This pretty much sums it up. That high performer who ignores the political game, they become expendable. Their best work gets overlooked, or maybe someone else gets the credit. They're seen as a reliable pawn, sure, but never as a strategic player. And their career just stalls, not because they lack talent, but because they lack strategic awareness. And all that influence and opportunity, It just flows right past them to the people who understand the real map.
But there is another way. So what happens when you learn to see these signals? This isn't about becoming some kind of backstabbing manipulator, no way. It's about becoming strategically effective. It's about gaining the edge.
The difference is just stark. Instead of being expendable, you become indispensable. Your value isn't just there, it's recognized, it's amplified. You're seen as a player, someone whose opinion matters. You don't just run into obstacles, you anticipate and navigate right around them, consistently gaining more influence and getting access to the best opportunities. Look, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a practical map, and using it starts with looking in the mirror. So we're going to end with 3 questions to help you figure out exactly where you are on this map.
First question, where are you right now assuming fairness when the situation actually calls for strategy? Think about it. What project, what relationship, what goal are you just hoping will work out fairly instead of you actively shaping the outcome? Second, who is benefiting from your silence? Think about all the value you've created. If you're not the one actively talking about your impact, who is defining that story for you? Because silence creates a vacuum, and power cannot stand a vacuum. Somebody will fill it.
And finally, this might be the most important question. What if you stopped thinking of office politics as a dirty word and just started seeing it for what it is? A game, a system with learnable rules. If you did that, what would you do differently tomorrow? What conversation would you have? What alliance would you start to build? What would change? Every system has 2 maps, the official one they give you and the real one that shows how things actually get done. Our job is to give you the real one. This is Signals Atlas. We map how the world really works.